Hello, and welcome back to the Librarian of the Rings. Today we're going to be talking all about Rings of Power Season 2 and some of the new footage that just dropped and what I think about it. Welcome back, my name is Ben, I'm the Librarian. Today we're going to be talking about Rings of Power Season 2. We got quite a bit of new footage dropped just over the last couple days because of San Diego Comic-Con. So we got a full trailer finally, and we also got some behind the scenes footage in a featurette called The Call to Adventure. Now I'm not going to do a shot by shot going through everything that is here. Instead I'm just going to mostly talk about my reactions. Plenty of other people out there are doing a shot by shot analysis of it, and it's not something that I feel I need to do on this channel. This channel is primarily focused on helping new people transition from the Lord of the Rings into the wider legendarium of Tolkien. And of course, Rings of Power is going to be a really important part of that, as it is really the first time we're seeing on the big screen more of the legendarium coming in. So I'm not as much focused on the news, but I do like to try and stay on top of it and bring it up whenever we can. Now, speaking of the news, there is a really important thing that I want to just mention today and acknowledge. This is the 70th anniversary of the publication of the Fellowship of the Ring. That's today. And that, of course, is just amazing. I mean, it's been 70 wonderful years that the Lord of the Rings has existed in the hands of people since that first volume, The Fellowship of the Ring, came out. And it's amazing because we are still talking about it today, and we still have new creative works being produced about it all of the time. The reviews are coming in for the musical right now, and of course we have Rings of Power. The Tales of the Shire video game is going to be coming out later this year. We have the Hunt for Gollum movie being made, and the War of the Rohirrim video coming out at Christmas time. So there is so much right now. So this latest footage from Rings of Power, how does it make me feel? Well, it does what a trailer is supposed to. It makes me feel excited for this season. I do not come away from this trailer being like, oh, this is going to be terrible. Now, there are people on the internet whose sole job is to be negative and to bring things down. That's not my job. That's not what I'm doing here. I'm here to help people. And I think that Rings of Power is going to help a lot of people find Tolkien's wider legendarium, even if it isn't necessarily completely the way that I would do it. And the purpose of a trailer is to get people excited for it. And I think that this latest trailer certainly does that. It gives us a lot of footage. But what kind of is my reaction here? Well, my reaction is that they're not hiding stuff this season. So there was supposed to be a lot of mystery and kind of who is that, who done it kind of a thing in season 1. And that just doesn't seem to be the case at all here, because right in the trailer, they're giving us so much information, and basically they're just jumping right into the rest of the rings being made. We saw 3 elven rings being made in the first season, which was out of order if those are actually the 3 elven rings. Now, maybe they're not. I haven't seen anybody talk about it, but those rings could be some of the early rings, the essays in the craft that are talked about. And potentially they're just trying to lead us astray by making 3 of them initially. I don't know that that's the case. It certainly seems like they are the 3 elven rings, and so that's what we're assuming for now, but they don't necessarily have to be. We also have dwarven rings, and we get reference to the 9 in here. They're not trying to hide anything. They're coming straight out, and I think that that's probably a good way to go. A lot of people didn't really like the guessing games of the first season, and so the trailer is just showing us exactly what's happening right from the beginning. We're going to get the rings being made. We're going to have Sauron as Anatar come in and work with Celebrimbor to make the rings. We already kind of knew that from the first teaser trailer. We're just getting more of that now. Now, what we don't see a lot of is the Min getting rings. We see what they're apparently calling Barrow-wights, which are these really creepy kind of skeletal figures. And those, because they're being called Barrow-wights, are not going to be the ring wraiths. We are really too early for the ring wraiths to be appearing at all. In fact, I'm kind of amazed at how far we're already going in season 2, because if we're going to have the 7 and the 9 made already in season 2, and assuming the 3 were made at the end of season 1, then we really only have the 1 left to make. And so just looking at this timeline, we can assume that the last season is going to be the last alliance of elves and men, and is going to primarily focus on that war. That is going to be probably a tremendously battle heavy season. And we've already had season 1, now we're in season 2, and we'll probably have season 3 or 4 that is really focused in on Numenor and the fall of Numenor. Now we will probably also have a season that is focused on the 9 and the 9 men who are given the rings of power and eventually become corrupted into the ring wraiths. So that's kind of how I see it playing out right now, just based on what kind of I see here. So we're definitely getting the forging of most of the Rings of Power in this season, for sure. At least the 7 and the 9. Because the sack of Aragian, the great battle to destroy the Gwaithar Myrdain, the ring smiths, is going to happen. And so then there's not going to be any more ring forging except for Sauron himself forging the One Ring at Mount Doom. So that's kind of where we are. I just see them really laying it out. They're even jumping straight to the corruption angle. Elrond has some voiceover in this trailer talking about how using the rings is playing into Sauron's hand. And then we have Durin talking to his father, Durin. That can get a little confusing, telling him to take off the ring. So they're definitely taking a corruption angle with the rings right out of the gate, which I find interesting. I feel like that probably should be happening a little bit later, that it shouldn't be apparent that they have a corrupting force. But of course, they are coming to an audience that is already familiar with the Lord of the Rings, and so they want them to understand that the rings are bad news right out of the gate and that they will have a corrupting influence ultimately. Speaking of King Durin, who has this Hulken ring with this big blue stone, it will be interesting to see how his story plays out, because the rings didn't really affect the dwarves because of how Aule made them. If you want to know more about that, check out my most recent Silmarillion video. But because of how Aule made them, the dwarves are very, very resistant to Sauron, and the rings don't have a lot of effect on them the way that they do on the Min. And so it'll be really interesting to see how Durin's plays out. The influence of the ring should prey upon their lust for gold and wanting to amass treasure. So we'll see how that plays out with the whole mithril mining thing that was introduced in season 1. Okay, there's a couple of big new characters that we are seeing on screen for the first time in this season. For some of them, we're seeing them for the first time ever. Most notably in this trailer, we have the first Entwife that we've ever seen on screen, and we have Tom Bombadil. Now, I'm excited for both of these characters to be brought to the big screen because we've never seen them before. I am not sure about the Entwife. She seems a little bit grandmother willowy to me from Pocahontas, and I'm not sure that I love that, but I'm also not sure how you do a matriarchal tree without kind of bringing in that vibe. So I don't know that I could have done any better on it. So we'll just have to see how it plays out. Then there's Tom Bombadil. Now, Tom Bombadil, I guess, is probably the area of this season that I'm most skeptical about. Now, again, I'm not here to be negative, and so I'm willing to grant them grace and see how it plays out, but I am skeptical about Tom Bombadil's character. I'm skeptical about his location in Rune and his interaction with the stranger. And this trailer didn't really do anything to ease my worries about that, because Tom doesn't seem to be in character really. He seems very serious in this trailer, which is not how Tom normally reacts, and he seems to be caring a lot about the outside world, which also seems to be counter to his character. Now, maybe what we'll see is him become the way that he should be in the Lord of the Rings. Now, he got left out of the Lord of the Rings movies, so many of you may not even know his character at all, but he should be this very happy, very centrally focused character. He's immensely powerful, but only within his own locus, which is the old forest right next to the Shire. It'll be very interesting to see that. I'm trying to be optimistic about it. I don't know that I am the most optimistic about it, but I'm trying to be here. Okay, so there's a lot of different pieces in this trailer. Again, I'm not going to break them all down. One thing that does seem to be a real focus of this season is this massive battle, the sack of Aragion, and I just hope that it's not too much, because really my least favorite part of season 1 was episode 6, which was just straight up battle all day. I didn't love that at all. It was just too much saturation on the battle. I like some actual storyline going on, and so I hope that interspersed with this battle, which is said that it's going to probably go over 2 episodes here, I really hope that we have a lot of story and character building also inserted into that, and it's not just fight scene after fight scene after fight scene. Now, we also got this featurette, this call to adventure, which had a lot of the cast and crew talking about little bits, and also some new footage that we hadn't seen before. The one thing that I really saw in this featurette that kind of gave us a little bit of an answer was talking about Queen Muriel and the sea trial. So Queen Muriel is the Queen of Numenor. She's blind. Her father died at the end of last season. We should see kind of the fallout from that in this season. And they talked in this featurette about her being put to the sea trial, being lowered into the sea to face what they call the sea worm. I'm not aware of any textual basis for this that I can think of right now, but there are lots of different parts about Numenor in the text, and they're kind of scattered around. So if I've missed something and you feel like there is textual basis for this, let me know. But they have to fill in a lot of different things, and we haven't have had already this sea creature. I don't know if it's the same one as it is from season 1, but we had this sea creature that came through and wrecked Halbrand's raft. So I don't know if this is related to that or not, but at least we now know that is Muriel in the water and the sea worm is coming at her, and they're going to see if she survives it. Interesting. We'll have to see why she's being put to the sea trial. Chances are it has something to do with Pharazôn and him trying to take over the throne. There were some other cool things in this featurette, but nothing like really game changing. We'd already seen little bits and pieces of a lot of this, like Isildur facing the spiders. We kind of knew that that was going to happen. We know that Isildur and Arondir were going to meet up, and we see a little bit more of that. In fact, we see a scene where Arondir is trying to save him from quicksand, which was highly reminiscent of Wesley saving Buttercup in The Princess Bride. There's of course a lot that is still to be revealed on all of this. But right now, I would say I'm in a place of excitement and hoping that it comes out really well in the end. I liked season 1 for about the first half of it. I didn't love the second half as much, but again, I didn't leave it with the negative feelings that a lot of people did. And I think that this season is looking really good, and I hope that it will actually pan out to be really good and enjoyable for Tolkien fans of all kinds. And again, that it will lead a lot of people into the wider legendarium to read things like the Silmarillion and Unfinished Tales so that they can learn more about the world that Tolkien was creating. Okay, because everything around the Rings of Power is heated, I of course have comment moderation turned on for this video. So if you are going to make a comment, make sure that it is appropriate and kind, that you don't use swear words, and that if you are bringing something up that you think is wrong or right about this season, that you cite your sources for it. Look forward to talking to you in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. And now, farewell wherever you fare. May your ears receive you at your journey's end.